Hey people, how's it going? Welcome to another video. Welcome to another episode of Debut Big Four Albums Ranked. I've been doing a lot of these for a little while, and today we are doing symphonic metal. We're going to tackle the big four of the symphonic metal subgenre, and we're going to tackle all their debut albums together. So we've got the kings of symphonic metal. Obviously we're going to have Nightwish's Angels Fall First up against Within Temptation's Enter, and we've also going to have, what's the third one? We're going to have Epica's The Phantom Agony, and the last one, which is a bit of a wild card, but according to the internet they're a big four of symphonic, we're going to have Therions of Darkness. So yeah, that one's a bit left field in my opinion, but we'll get to it why. We'll get to it in a moment. So yeah, let me know down below which one your favorite is out of these four, and we'll get a conversation going. But let's just get straight into it with what comes in for me at number 4. So for me, coming in at the bottom at number 4 is Therions of Darkness. Now, the reason I mentioned in the start that this one's a bit of a wild card is because, kind of like Dark Throne, this album is their debut, and this album is pretty much a death metal album. So just like Dark Throne, who are considered one of the biggest influences in the second wave of black metal, their first album, Soulside Journey, is also a death metal album, and then they became black metal after. It's sort of the same with these guys. This is a death metal album and then grew to become this massive symphonic band. So because they get chucked under the umbrella, we have to talk about it. Of Darkness is a death metal album, but just because it's a death metal album, that's not the reason why it's number 4. I do just get a lot more kick out of everything else that we have to talk about more. So what I did like about this album is I did enjoy the death metalness. It was very, like, what year did this one come out? This came out in 1991, so it's sort of like peak death metal era, and these guys are from Sweden as well, so they're really honed in like that Swedish sound. They're under Peaceful Records as well, I think. No, they got attention from Def Records, who is a subsidiary of Peaceful, so yeah, sort of interlinked. But no, this album is catchy enough, and it's pretty brutal in certain places, and it's really fun. It's not a long album, which is awesome. It's 40 minutes, so it held my attention pretty damn easily. So yeah, it's a good album. I would recommend it. Therion are a pretty awesome band, and it was cool to hear their debut because I hadn't actually heard it before. So yeah, number 4 for me is Of Darkness. Right, so that one was kind of obvious for me that it was going to be at the bottom because I just knew that. But literally every other one that we have to talk about today was freaking hard. They all jumped about, like every other day, someone would jump up and another one would fall, and then I'd listen to that one again and then be like, you know what, this one actually needs to go higher. So it was very choppy changey, and I'm probably going to ruffle feathers with what I've chosen, but believe it or not, in my opinion, number 3 is Epica's The Phantom Agony. When I heard this album for the first time, which was on this little ranking, I won't lie to you, immediately I thought, good Lord, this one is good. At first I was like, oh wow, after like the third song, I was like, okay, this one's going to be quite hard, this little ranking battle. But yeah, I've locked it in at number 3. It's still an amazing record. I am a massive fan of symphonic metal, I won't lie, but I haven't really listened to much of Epica. There's no reason for that. I just haven't dwelled into it. So to hear where they came from and to hear, who they are and what they do, this album was actually really fun. This one was 51 minutes, so I've said it before, that's like my perfect time length of like just perfect. Like anything after that is too long, and anything before that is like, good. So 50 minutes is pretty cool. I did have to do a bit of reading to kind of understand what this album was going on about. It's a very, I did read about it. It's quite, I won't say religiously driven, but it's a bit like, there are songs on here that talk about the fear and the power of like religion and what it makes people do and things like that. So like, for example, Cry for the Moon, The Embrace That Smothers, Part 4. That's weird because this is the debut album and already we've got a song here that's called Part 4. So where the heck are parts 1 and 2 and 3? And then I had to look it up and be like, all right, so this is the first album recorded with Mark Jensen after his departure from the band After Forever. On this album, Jensen continues with a collection of songs that make up The Embrace That Smothers. The first 3 parts are on After Forever's Prison of Desire, and then the rest of it is on this album. So yeah, there it is. These songs deal with the dangers of organized religion. So it was like, okay, I haven't heard parts 1, 2, and 3, and I'll do that at a later date. But this album is cool. My favorite from here is probably Faint. When I heard that, I was laying there and I was half asleep, and I was like, good God, this is a beautiful song. The Facade of the Reality, The Embrace That Smothers Part 5 is beautiful. That's probably one of my favorite ones. There's some really good metal moments on this album. It's awesome. The Fad to Agony itself, the 9-minute title track, was great, and it closed off really, really cool. And then there's some bonus tracks, which I don't really include because that's not what was released as the album came out. Do you know what I mean? So like, it was honestly a great album. The vocals on it are awesome. The guitar is cool. The tone is cool. So the symphonic part of it is dominant. So yeah, it's a great album. But for me, it's number 3. Number 2 is Angels Fall First from Nightwish. So yeah, the absolute kings of symphonic metal. You know, these guys were, Thomas Holopainen formed Nightwish under the idea of creating campfire music. Well, he was around a campfire when the idea of Nightwish came to him, and the birth of the band was like right there. I think we just passed the date. I think it was July 6, 1996 is when he was like, that's what I'm going to do. And they came out with this, and for a debut album, that's pretty damn incredible. Like, I tend to put it quite high compared to other Nightwish albums. You know, I've put this in the past. I've gone on record to say that I would much rather listen to this than Oceanborn. You know, a lot of people love Oceanborn, but I've got a soft spot for debuts, and Angels Fall First is pretty incredible. For a first offering, it's great. You know, it's symphonic. If you're a fan of Talia's vocals, you know, you've got no problem with this. Yeah, compared to what Nightwish came to be and who they are, you know, today, it's a very simple album. There's nothing absolutely epic or anything like that on here, you know, and but it's nice. It's a nice humble roots type album. You know, side 1, Elven Path, Beauty and the Beast, and the Carpenter are pretty much just real straightforward Nightwish songs. Elven Path is awesome, and so is Beauty and the Beast, and the Carpenter is fun as well. Like, that's a strong side. You know, those 3 are great. And then you get Astral Romance, Angels Fall First, the title track, and then Tutankhamen. I've always loved Tutankhamen. The intro of it is great. That's real catchy. You know, it's like, oh, that's fun, and it's awesome as well. But then what also stands this album out for me is Know Why the Nightingale Sings. That has to be probably one of the catchiest riffs I've ever heard by anyone ever. And ever since then, I've heard that. It was just awesome. It's a beautiful song. It's great and it's catchy. And then you get Lappi, which is Lapland, and which is like this longer song, but it's nothing compared to the longer ones that they did later. And then side 4 on this particular LP has some demos on it, like the first Nightwish demo, which the band had their name from. So yeah, it's a great album. And if you're a fan of Nightwish and you haven't delved into their past, like, I highly recommend you do it. There's more to them than Fool Jansen, I swear to God. This album is awesome, and it's very strong, and for me, it's number 2. Which means for me, I know it's a bit of a wild card, and I honestly didn't expect it as well. And the fact that I have it on physical LP is crazy as well. Number 1 is Within Temptation's Enter. This album, again, like I said, I don't know where it came from. Do you know what I mean? I've never listened to Within Temptation before, ever. A bit like Epica, I hadn't really delved into them. I had kids at school who were listening to them, and at that time, I hadn't discovered symphonic metal yet, so I thought they were weird goth kids who listened to bands that carry orchestras around with them. I just thought it was really weird. And this name was a big contender above them, a part of them. So I was like, okay, let's see who these guys are. Let's see what they have to offer. And my God, quite quickly, I was quite shocked to have this album pass Angels Fall First, because I genuinely thought Angels Fall First would be number 1 before we even started. I remember starting to listen to this album a few weeks ago to get this album ranking, and then like literally within that week, I went to the record shop just for fun to pass time, and this was there, and I recognized the album cover. I was like, oh, hey, I'm supposed to listen to this album. I won't buy it yet because I haven't heard it. And, you know, I don't blind buy because of how expensive albums are these days. And then after a week or so of jamming it, I needed to go back and buy it. So I went and got it. What makes this one cool, and I didn't mention it about Epica as well, but it blends with beautiful high-pitched vocals as well as like low death gutturals as well. I think they're more dominant on this album as opposed to Epica, but like honestly, side 1 for me is just perfect. Like Restless and Enter. Restless is a great opener. The vocal melody on that I just think is absolutely perfect. Enter is cool, but it does go on a little bit long. The little figure at the end just keeps going and going, and I could do without that. Pearls of Light though, oh my god. There's something about Pearls of Light that makes me just so happy and so calm. Like the part about not knowing where she comes from, that's just lyrically and melodically, that one's awesome. Deep Within is great fun. And then you flip it over for Gatekeeper. That's a heavier one, you know, one of the more heavier songs on the album. It was great. Grace and Blooded and Candles. Just it's a simple album in a way, but like I just really, really love it. Like I say, I'm shocked that I have it on LP, and I'm shocked that it made its way to #1, but it did. And if you haven't heard Within Temptation's debut album, Enter, I would highly recommend it. If you like symphonic and you like high females and you like gutturals too, give this album a check out. It's pretty fun. It's calming, despite there are some heavy metal moments on here. It's quite soothing and it's quite peaceful. So yeah, it's kind of nice to fall asleep to until the heaviness kicks in, and it might wake you up. But other than that, it's a damn good album. If you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend. That's my #1 pick for Symphonic Big Four. Enter from Within Temptation. Awesome as team. There we go. That's my ranking for my Big Four debut albums of symphonic metal. Like I said at the start, let me know down below what order you chuck these in, which one's your favorite, which one's your least favorite, and add to why as well, because let's have a good conversation about it. It's always good fun. Keep an eye out for the next Big Four ranking. It's probably going to be power metal, I think, because that's like one of the bigger ones that I still haven't done yet. But until that happens, everybody, stay inside, stay safe, go listen to Within Temptation's Enter, and I will see you all in the next video. See you later.